In short, the showroom allows you to easily create quotes for clients describing the goods and services that you'll be providing them. The quote is the preliminary agreement used while finalizing the details of the merchandise. You can think of the quote as analogous to the proposal in the traditional design manager projects. Upon the client accepting the contents of the quote, it can then be converted into an order. The order represents a more binding association between you and the client with the inherent assumption that the merchandise has been approved and will be awaiting delivery. This secondary phase of the showroom process doesn't really have a corresponding function for projects, and it really showcases the specialization of the showroom module. Another benefit of the showroom module is that it consolidates access to many functions in Design Manager Pro, such as invoicing, delivery tickets, etc., all into a single interface to really allow you to focus simply on those quotes and orders. So let's get started with the showroom window itself. The window is divided into two tabs, Quotes tab and an Orders tab. Let's take a look at the Quotes tab first. When we come in, we're going to automatically see all the active quotes that were currently being formulated or awaiting approval from our client. I can use the Select By option in the top left corner, and I could select for a particular client or a particular salesperson, such as Kelly Jacobs, and I can see her active quotes. But let's go back to our all. So I can narrow down the vision of the quotes that I'm currently observing. Let's take a look at some of the columns on the quote window. We have our automatically generated quote number, description, we have the client's code and name, the salesperson, we have the client's purchase order number. This could be commonly used if the work is being done for a commercial client and they want you to input a particular purchase order number from their company that has to print on all the documents in order to be processed through their payables. There's the open date, the quoted date, and even a revised date. And we also have columns for the quote total, including tax if applicable, and even a column that tells us what's the deposit status, have we requested any, have we received any. So all of the information about our open quotes is really consolidated into a nice, easily accessible menu. Orders, the other tab, we allow quotes to be easily converted into orders upon the client's approval. On the Order tab, again, we have our Select By, so I can narrow it down by salesperson or by client. And I have a variety of columns here as well. Several are the same, such as the order description, etc. But here I have the quoted date. I have the order date itself, even dates for delivery and invoicing. I have an estimated order total, deposit received, and even payment balance due information as well. So as the life cycle of the quote manifests into an order, we can see all of the information come along with it and how it transpires through the design process. So let's get started by first adding a quote. To do so, we're going to click the Add button on the Quote tab. And that brings up the quote window. Design Manager will automatically create a unique quote number for you, so you don't have to worry about creating a custom number or custom code for each quote as you do in traditional design projects. Design Manager will handle the unique quote or order number for you. The description, that's sort of in lieu of the project name. This is a short phrase of what goods or services are being provided. Let's take our example today that we're going to be providing a custom sofa. The open date is the date that we are creating the quote, which defaults to today's date. And now we'll input the client. I can select one of my traditional clients if the quote is going to be for them, but I can also add one during the process. If we click Add here, notice that the Design Manager takes the order number and makes that into the code for the client as well. So both of those are uniquely tied. Let's say that our individual, how about Garrett Brennan? We'll just put in some fictional information here. phone number. Bam, I have my client for Garrett Brennan. There he is on our client glossary search. And now, upon selecting, we bring in the billing address as well. I could put the salesperson who is handling the quote and order if necessary or desired. And let's say that's Ashley Brandon today. And notice when we select and go out of the salesperson field, the sales tax code from Ashley Brennan's employer salesperson window automatically defaults to get the appropriate taxing information. If we hop over to Delivery Ship To tab, we notice that the billing information defaults over to the site, which is wonderful and it makes the entry as fast as possible, but there could be circumstances when I'd be sending a bill to one of the client's homes, but actually sending the goods or services to another, so I can change the site address if necessary. I can also create a default shipping code. So this is going to be where the vendors will be sending the finalized products. It might be directly to Garrett Brennan's home, so I could create a ship to code easily by using the Create From Above button, and now I create a unique ship to code for Garrett Brennan's home. But let's say in our case we want the vendors to ship the goods and services to us first. So let's put in the Vita Nova Designs, which is my design company. So I want the custom sofa to come to me first, but then I will deliver it to Mr. Brennan. The Defaults tab, I can input the PO side mark to appear in my purchase orders. Then I could put something like, Brennan Custom Sofa. I can choose to append a location to this, but I'm not going to have any locations for just the sofa, so I'm going to skip that option. The designer extension will appear directly on the purchase order number. And if I have a particular person in the company, such as a design assistant or a receiving or expediter, I could put their name and their phone extension, so when the vendor needs to contact the correct person at the company regarding the order, the information's there for them easily. Let's say Jasper is our expediter, and that's his extension. We'll charge a 50% deposit upon the custom sofa in order to get the quote converted into an order, and I will include sales tax in that amount. And for our invoice terms, we will do upon receipt. The Notes and Info tab can be used to put in some additional contact information for Mr. Garrett, cell phone number perhaps, or a work number, and I could put his email address in if I desire to send the quote or order directly via email from Design Manager. Having the email address recorded will allow me to do that quite rapidly, and I could put in any notes concerning the order itself or Mr. Brennan's specifications or particular needs could be included in the notes field, and that's only for our information, not for Mr. Brennan's eyes. That's it. Now we've created the quote. Very similar to our project window, just a little bit more efficiently arranged. If we click OK, we now have our custom sofa on our quote tab. Here's our uniquely generated quote number. There's the description of the merchandise we'll be providing. Our client code for Mr. Brennan, again, matches the quote number. Ashley Brand is our salesperson. We have no need for a client PO number. And here's the open date, which is the date that I created the quote, but I have not yet actually processed it. So my quoted date is still empty, along with the revised date, which indicates any changes that I may have enacted upon the quote, is also blank at this time. My totals and deposit status will also be blank until we begin processing the quote throughout the design process. Now we need to begin and craft the goods and services that we're going to be giving to Mr. Brennan in the form of his custom sofa. So I could go to the Showroom drop-down and select specifications, but I tend to use the Showroom window to rapidly get to the areas in Design Manager which I need to access. So I'm going to go, have the custom sofa highlighted, and click the Items button. That jumps me right onto the Specifications window with Mr. Brennan's custom sofa quote up and ready for me to add items. Now, entering the particular goods and services for a quote or order is done in the exact same manner as it is done with traditional projects. I can, of course, click the Add button and begin entering the items and components needed for the custom sofa. And if I'm a fabric showroom, however, I could use the Quick Quote module to rapidly create custom window treatments or pillows or any other fabrication that I might desire. If I have an inventory that I will easily maintain and I can pull into my specifications, or if I have a catalog input into Design Manager of goods that I sell repeatedly, I could use the Add from Inventory button and select the inventory item, or I could use the Add from Catalog and select the appropriate catalog number as well. Now, since my company, Vita Nova Designs, commonly refinishes or refabricates sofas or even creates custom sofas, what I have done is actually use that catalog system, and I've created a template for a custom sofa. So I have all of the framework necessary to begin finalizing the actual custom sofa itself without having to enter each piece manually. So if I select the custom sofa and hit OK on the Add Item from Catalog, there I have imported this custom sofa template. Let's take a look. If we edit that, I can see that my custom sofa is generally comprised of at least 3 components. There's always a frame, there's always a fabric, and there's usually some trim as well. So now that I have this framework established, it becomes very easy for me to fill in the details as I begin working with the vendors and selecting the appropriate fabrics, trim, frames, and from which vendor will be providing those that merchandise. So let's go ahead and do so. So we get our frame, let's say from Century, and that's going to cost us $1,800, and our fabric could be provided by the ever trustworthy Kravet. Let's say that costs $85. We need 14 yards. And lastly, some trim that also could come from Kravet. And let's say the trim comes in at a good price of $25 per yard, and we'll do 16 yards for the trim. And just like that, I've created the framework for my custom sofa, and I'm ready to begin further processing the quote from Mr. Brennan today. If I click OK, I've got my custom sofa in my specifications window, and if we close the specs, notice that the showroom window has automatically updated the estimated quote total for me, including my sales tax, and even the 50% requested, including the tax that I'm going to be requiring from Mr. Brennan to process the quote into an actual order. So now we need to actually create the physical quote itself. To do so, go down to the Print button with our custom sofa quote highlighted. That brings us to our Print Quote window. The quote date defaults to today's date, which is just fine. Again, if I was editing or making changes to an existing quote, I could input a revised date if desired. I'll go ahead and leave the picture option selected, and I could even email directly from Design Manager over to Mr. Brennan if I so choose. Click OK here, and we're now going to generate our print preview of the quote itself. I always use the print preview windows in Design Manager to check the accuracy of all of my work. Let's look at a couple features on the quote. We have the quote title, I have the quote number, there's our description, the custom sofa, so I can easily identify it. We have Mr. Brennan's billing and shipping addresses, we have our quantity and unit of measure, our description, in this case our unit and extended prices are the same, and then we summate the totals in the bottom with our sales tax and a grand quote total. Directly beneath, highlighted in bold, is the amount that we're going to require from Mr. Brennan today to get this process into an order. I've got my approval line and date so Mr. Brennan can sign off and officialize the quote, and I even have some custom remarks. Like all windows in Design Manager, from the print preview, I could print out a hard copy onto my print device, or I could even email the quote directly over to Mr. Brennan and even export it into any of the common formats such as Adobe PDF, Excel, Word, or even HTML, whatever I'm most comfortable with. After checking all of my figures for accuracy, we close the print preview with the X in the top right corner, and we accept. And now we have both our open date and our quoted date. This indicates that I have created the quote itself, Mr. Brennan's information, and I've actually generated and processed the quote. Now, of course, let's say design concepts evolve and changes are inevitable. So let's imagine that Garrett wants a few custom pillows to go along with his sofa after some consideration. Well, we can easily add them to the quote. The quote's a living document that can evolve with the needs of the client. So let's keep the quote highlighted, jump back to our items button, and we'll hop on to the specifications for the custom sofa quote. In this case, I'm going to use the quick quote module to create some custom pillows. And let's do some corded pillows today for Mr. Brennan. He is going to want 2 pillows, corded, 2 of those. And now all I need to do in the quick quote module is simply add the pricing structure and cost for all the necessary components of the custom pillow, corded pillows. So with the contrast fabric, let's say that's $50 per yard. Same with the main. Let's say the fringe comes in at $25, and a foam insert for the pillow is $30. Labor's already included. I don't need any accessories, nor do I have any shipping. And just like that, I've used the quick quote module to extremely efficiently create 2 custom corded pillows. If we take a look, we can see that Design Manager creates the corded pillows for Mr. Garrett, and it has all of the necessary components that comprise that fabricated piece. Put some accessories onto the sales category. I have my deposit already listed, and we are ready to go. If we close the specs, we can see right away that our quote has updated to include our custom corded pillows, and the requested amount that I'm going to be asking for Mr. Brennan has also correspondingly increased. So the message here is the quote is living. Any changes that you need, merchandise to be added or edited, updated, can be done so, even removed, and the quote automatically will update all those changes for you. In this case, I would like to print another copy, and let's say that this happened yesterday or tomorrow. I can print a revised quote. And here the quote looks very similar, except I have the revision date as of tomorrow, and I have the original date. So Mr. Brennan can see, hey, this was originally done for me on 6/5, but the incorporation of the pillows occurred on 6/6. Everything else looks exact same with the inclusion of the 2 corded pillows and the updated total and requested deposit amounts. I would print out a new copy, maybe email one off to Mr. Brennan, and close and accept. And now we have our opened or created date, the quoted date itself, and the revised date are all being listed on the quotes tab of the showroom module. So after we send this off to Mr. Brennan, he's of course going to love our design concepts. So the next general step would be for Garrett to provide us with that deposit on the quote, which is going to initialize the conceptual transformation of the quote into an order. So let's go ahead and add our deposit through accounts receivable, cash receipts. Click the add button in the bottom left corner and just type in the quote number. we can see right away Design Manager comes up with the custom sofa and the expected amount to be received today for the quote to be turned into an order. However, let's say that Mr. Brennan doesn't want to deal with pennies and odd numbers, and he just gives us a flat $2,700 on his MasterCard. Well, we can do that. Let's say that comes in tomorrow, and we can select MasterCard at $2,700. Now, one note here, as I'm entering the cash receipt into Design Manager as a MasterCard receipt, if I have subscribed to Design Manager's service with Merchant Warehouse, not only would I be recording the MasterCard charge in Design Manager, but I'd be using Merchant Warehouse's secure gateway to actually process that credit card transaction so that Merchant Warehouse can get the funds into my banking institution as fast as possible. So all of that happens immediately in Design Manager rather than me having to put the receipt into Design Manager, go over to the credit card machine, or go onto a third party's website to put the charge in. With the Merchant Warehouse subscription service, it would automatically happen for me. So let's go ahead and record that MasterCard charge. But again, Mr. Brennan didn't pay us the $265583. He gave us a flat $2,700. So by using the Edit button, we're going to change the amount to $2,700. Click OK. Design Manager tags the deposit for us. Our total deposit retainer matches the amount exactly, and our receipt has no difference. By clicking OK, we can then post our receipt. And again, upon doing so with the Merchant Warehouse subscription, I'd actually be processing that credit card transaction simultaneously. Let's hop back over to the Showroom module and take a look at our quote. Here's our custom sofa, and now our deposit status has gone from requested to received $2,700, and it even indicates it was paid via MasterCard on 6/6 as well. So again, the Showroom module has that consolidated information, so when I'm monitoring my quotes and orders, I really only need to focus here, as I can see other transactions that occur from other areas of the business will automatically be updated on my Showroom module for me. So we've got the money from Mr. Brennan. Now that is the impetus for us to actually process the quote into an order. And it's really easy to do so. Highlight the custom sofa, and we use the Make Order button along the bottom toolbar. This brings up the Make Print Order button, and I have the order date, and let's say we convert that on 6/6 as well. Again, we see a revised date, just like the quote. If the order has some evolution to it as it's being processed, I could reprint it using the revised date. I could choose to include my pictures, and again, email directly over to Mr. Brennan. If we click OK here, we now have our print preview of the order. I have the title of Order Acknowledgement. Again, we can maintain the same number throughout the entire process. There's our custom sofa description, the billing and site address for Garrett Brennan, and very similar to the quote, we have the quantity and unit of measure, our description, our unit and extended prices. On the bottom, we summate those figures, show our sales tax, have a grand total. We have our deposit of $2,700 being shown to reduce the future balance due, and we even show that Mr. Brennan paid with his MasterCard ending in 5789, and there's our future balance. Again, I use my print preview window to analyze my work once I have approved all the accuracy of the numbers and shipping information. I could print, email, or export, and simply close with the X and accept. Now, our quote has jumped off of the Quote tab and is now being shown as an active order. So we have our order number now, there's our description, client code remains the same as does the salesperson. We have our original quoted date, not the revised date, the quoted date itself, the order acknowledgement date. I have dates future again for delivery and invoicing. Here's our estimated order total, and I even see that I have indeed recorded that $2,700 deposit. There may be times when the order is rather large and it might need to be revisited both by the salesperson and the client, and might kind of revert out of the order stage. In other words, I need to requote this. Very common and very easy to do. Highlight the order, click the edit button, and you can use the requote button on the order window. Upon clicking that and hitting OK, Design Manager will revert the order back onto the quotes so it can be reevaluated between the salesperson and the client, and then processed again into an order at a future time. It will always, however, maintain the associated deposit with it. All of those transactions follow the quote all the way through the process. So we're going to start fabricating our pillows, and we're going to create our custom sofa for Mr. Brennan, and eventually all of that will be completed at my showroom. So I can also use the showroom module to create a delivery ticket. The showroom module takes all these different functions and consolidates them, such as delivery tickets. We can use the delivery ticket as the manifest for our delivery team. I can, again, go to Showroom and create my delivery tickets manually, but I like to use the Showroom module to do so automatically for me. If I click Delivery, that brings up the generated delivery tickets. And let's say this is going to get shipped out on, let's say 6/20. I could make a delivery ticket for all of the orders in a given date range, or even for a particular client. Let's say Mr. Brennan. The set shipped quantity will allow me to not only record the merchandise being delivered or transported from our showroom, but also as shipped, indicating that the merchandise was received by the client. Let's not do that now, however, so we can manually show how to record that information ourselves. We'll click OK here. We have our delivery ticket. I'm shipping this. This is, again, for my delivery team, and they're going to be taking both the custom sofa and the pillows directly over to Mr. Brennan's house in Yardley, Pennsylvania. I've got my delivery information along the top, and let's take a look at the body of the delivery ticket. We have the quantity ordered. This is the order from Mr. Brennan to us. The quantity to be delivered. The quantity shipped is left intentionally blank. This is going to be recorded by my delivery team, indicating how much, hopefully all, of the merchandise that was actually received by the client. And then I have a brief description of the items. Along the bottom, I have a signature and date approval line as well, so Mr. Brennan can sign and date, reflecting that he has indeed received the merchandise and I'm transferring ownership over to him. And just like all the other print preview windows, we can print, email, or export, and we close and accept our delivery ticket. On our Orders tab, now I've got a delivery date indicated as well. Let's take a look a little bit deeper on that. If we go to our showroom delivery tickets and we punch in the custom sofa order number, I can indicate that not only were the goods leaving my showroom, but they were indeed received by Mr. Brennan. On this window, we highlight the delivery ticket and use the edit function. And here, I can take the custom sofa, hit the edit button, and actually input the amount that was received by Mr. Brennan or shipped from my location. So our custom sofa made it successfully. So we shipped quantity matches my delivered quantity. And the exact same for our two pillows. We delivered two, and we shipped two. So now I'm recording that information into Design Manager so I can use it throughout the system primarily. If we click OK here, Back on our quotes and orders, if we jump to our items, I can look at the custom sofa, and on the status tab, I see that it was on delivery ticket 1 for Mr. Brennan. There's our date, and not only did I deliver, but I did successfully ship as well. So all that information is integrated throughout Design Manager, and I can see it in all the appropriate places for where I want to know what's going on with a particular quote and order. So the delivery tickets is easily integrated into the showroom module and allows me to track the shipping of the merchandise from my showroom. So now that Mr. Brennan has taken ownership of the sofa and the pillows, the next step is going to be time to create a client invoice to reflect that transfer of ownership. Again, the showroom module has easy access to those functions, as I can create invoices right from here. If I use the invoice button, I bring up the invoice orders window. Again, I could put in a date range of orders, everything for this week, everything for a particular day, or for an individual client, such as Mr. Brennan. And let's say this gets invoiced on the 21st. If we click OK here, I'm going to create the invoice for the order automatically on my client invoices window, rather than having to go to my accounts receivable, client invoices, add, and input all that information. By using the integrated functionality in the showroom, I bypass all that and have the invoice created waiting for me to print and accept. And here it is. I have my invoice number, the date of the invoice, there's our order number and our description, Mr. Brennan, the total amount, sales tax, the application of that $2,700 deposit, and the balance due on the invoice for future payment. If we print to our residential format, and here's our invoice. We have our invoice number, there's our description, I have the billing site, and even the shipping locations, which was my facility, quantity unit measure, description, our unit and extended prices, total sales tax, total for the invoice, deposit being reflected, and the reduced balance due. Print, email, close with the X, and accept. And now I have my invoice on my existing tab along with all of my other invoices for history. So again, going back to the point, the showroom encapsulates all of the functionality necessary to quickly process an order all the way through the design cycle. And if we look back on our orders tab, we can see that I don't have an order for Mr. Brennan any longer. Why? Because it has progressed from being an open order to a closed order. As we can see, we have our quoted date, order date, delivery, invoice date as our invoice number, the current balance due. So, Design Manager automatically closes that invoice for us. And how does it do so? Well, you can tell Design Manager how to close an invoice. And that leads us to a description on some of the more advanced features of the showroom system. If we go to our general ledger, company information and settings, click the advanced button, brings us to our company advanced options window. And there is a tab specific for showroom, provided you have the showroom module. Here we can customize or configure many settings of both the order and the quote. I can change the title. If I don't prefer quote, I could change it to estimate or what have you. I could change the title of order from order acknowledgement to just order or whatever verbiage I prefer. And I have some degree of customization of the documents in themselves. I could put the remarks on a separate page if my remarks tend to be legal in nature and quite verbose. I can suppress unit prices. I could show my email and website for the company. I can even suppress sales tax on the quote and order separately. But here is the order closed by option, and there's several. I can close it upon invoicing the client. So as soon as I create that invoice from the showroom, Design Manager will process the order as closed. I can close it upon delivery. When I make the delivery ticket, Design Manager will then close the order. I have chosen both. So I have to not only make the delivery ticket, but I also have to make the client invoice. As we saw, the order was still open when the delivery ticket was finished. It only migrated into being closed upon posting and accepting the client invoice. And lastly, I can use none, and that way I will close each order manually myself. We also have some ability to show how we want freight, design fee, or other component types listed on both of the documents, and we have separate remarks for the quote and for the order that can be customized as well. Lastly, so now we've taken our custom sofa design concept all the way through, creating it as an order, processing the order for Mr. Brennan. We've even enhanced it by selling some custom-made pillows through the Quick Quote module. We then re-accepted the quote, got a deposit of $2,700 from Mr. Brennan and processed that. That was our step two, or our trigger to convert the quote into an order, which we processed. And then we followed the order itself. We fabricated the pillows, and we created the custom sofa. Then we used a delivery ticket to ship that off with our delivery team over to Mr. Brennan's residence. And finally, we processed the invoice to reflect that transfer of ownership. So we've watched the entire process of the showroom module. And I'm going to conclude with just a few reports that we have available specific for the showroom. And they're listed on our Project Management Showroom folder, and as a specific showroom folder beneath. We can do the open quotes. This is going to show all of the quotes that are in process. Basically, I've either generated them or formulated them, and I'm waiting for approval and have not yet received the deposit, or I have received approval and I'm just waiting to transform them into an order. So I have a snapshot of my open quotes, which is very analogous to the quotes window itself. We can see our 3 open quotes. I also have an order summary. The order summary can be used to show all orders that are open, closed, or both. And it's going to provide all of the information necessary to monitor the status of the orders in a report format. The client, the order number, description, the salesperson, the quote, order date, any invoicing and delivery information, the total, and all the purchasing status as well. This would show how my purchasing status with the vendors are. In our case, not order because we didn't go through that process. So the order summary is a very nice tool to keep track of how each of the orders are flowing on a report format. And lastly, there's the profit analysis by showroom, where I could put in order range, and we can see how well we're doing on all of our quotes and orders. And it's going to show us all of the information, our estimated costs, which are the information, the cost that we put into the specifications themselves. The actual cost, well, that's the sum of all the bills we recorded from our vendors. The actual prices, the price we estimated to the client, and the actual price, which is the invoice price to the client. So there's a customized profit analysis report as well, just to monitor quotes and orders. And with that, that brings us to the end of our webinar today. And in today's discussion, again, we reviewed the optional showroom module for Design Manager Professional and observed how it really is a centralized interface for all the functions necessary to quote and manage the orders that don't need or require a traditional design project. And with that, I'm going to turn over the conclusion of the webinar to Lindsay, and I thank everyone for listening in today.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you everyone for attending. If anybody has any questions at all, please let us know. You can always email sales@ sales@designmanager.com. Again, that's sales@designmanager.com, and we'd happy to get you set up with a trial of the showroom or purchasing, so please let us know. And thanks again to Brad for putting on the webinar today. Bye-bye.